Hello, everyone. This is Brady with the Arkansas Public Policy Panel,
And I am Kwame Abdul Bey, also with the Arkansas Public Policy Panel.
and we are here with an emergency Friday webinar. I think that's our first emergency webinar. Does that sound right, Kwame?
Yes, it is. And
Uh,
hopefully this will be our last.
Fingers
Not.
crossed. What we have today, thrown at us last minute last night, Senator Kim Hammer of Saline County filed six bills that directly attack our direct democracy here in Arkansas. Uh, we knew this attack was coming. We knew it was going to come at us hard and fast, and it's here. And now is the time to educate people, to speak up, speak out, and mobilize people to get these really terrible bills stopped before they even get going. Uh,
Yes, during this last election cycle for 2024, we had over 100,000 Arkansans participate in direct democracy, whether it be canvassing for signatures, whether it be signing petitions, or whether it be blockers. If you're a blocker, you're still participating in the process. So over 100,000 Arkansans actively participated in direct democracy just this last year.
and we can't stress this enough that if these bills pass, our constitutionally protected right of direct democracy will be all but eliminated in name only.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is vitally important that you contact your state senator, state representative, and tell them to vote no on these bills. We're going to go over all of these bills, tell you a little bit about what they do, and give you the tools to empower yourself to make your voice heard and get these bills stopped. So, like I said, there are six bills total that Senator Hammer filed. Um, I kind of like to look at these and put them in two different buckets. One
Yes.
bucket deals with the signature collection process, and the other bucket deals with the administrative process of how
Yes.
signatures are counted and all the behind the scenes stuff. So I'm going to tackle the first three bills that deal with the signature collection process, and then Kwame will take over the other three. So
Yes.
let's start. The first one is Senate Bill 207. Now, Senate Bill 207 would say that a canvasser who is trying to collect a signature must first disclose to a potential signer, either verbally or written, that petition fraud is a crime. So, say me, petition canvasser Brady, is trying to get Kwame's signature. I have to tell Kwame first, hey, Kwame, petition fraud is a crime. And then once I say that, then Kwame can sign. And if I fail to do this, I have committed a crime. Not great. This is going to have the
Yeah.
effect of scaring people from signing because they think that, oh, they might get in trouble. It's also going to have the effect of a canvasser not wanting to sign up to volunteer because they're afraid that they're going to accidentally commit a crime by not, you know, disclosing this to a signer.
And how current law has it is that once the ballot title is approved by the Attorney General's office, the Attorney General office actually sends you the exact language to put on the ballot that already says that.
Exactly.
So how we currently do it is when we're collecting signatures, what we will do is we will give our 30-second spiel on what it's about, and then the entire ballot text is printed there along with this notice from the Attorney General that talks about the fraud that Brady is speaking on. So it's there for anyone that wants to read it to actually read it.
And this is a common occurrence you'll see amongst all of these bills. So let's hop right into SB 208. This one, in my opinion, is probably one of the most troubling ones. What this says is that a canvasser must verify a potential signer's photo identification before collecting their signature. Now, off the top of your head, that might seem reasonable. Oh, you want to make sure the person signing is the person who is really who they say they are. However, the Arkansas Constitution makes it very clear that the only requirement for you to sign is you have to be a registered voter. This is trying to supersede our Constitution and put additional barriers on people who may not have an ID or may not have their ID on them for whatever reason. And it creates just another hurdle that the canvasser has to go through in order to collect a legally valid signature.
And the thing is when you register to vote, you're not required to show a photo ID to register to vote. You're only required to show a photo ID to actually go and vote.
That's
So when
correct.
you register to vote, it is the county clerk's responsibility to determine your eligibility. Once they determine your eligibility, then they send your information to the Secretary of State's office so that you can go into the state database. So what we do when we're collecting signatures is we'll go up and say, hey, Miss Jan Smith, uh, we'd like you to sign this particular ballot petition. Are you a registered voter? And if Miss Jan Smith is a registered voter and she's very aware of that, she'll say, yes, I am a registered voter, and she'll sign it. If Miss Jan Smith says, well, I'm not sure, or I don't know, well, what we do is we pull up in our computer or on our phone the Secretary of State's database, and then we allow Miss Jan Smith to enter her personal information into the database to confirm whether or not she is an actual registered voter. So that is the process as it currently stands. So the verification is already being done without any need for any photo ID.
Absolutely correct. And the person who is giving that information to look up their voter registration status, that's sensitive information that only that person's going to know.
Hmm.
So we have real-time verification of who is signing and if they are registered and legally allowed to vote. So then the final one is going to be uh, 20 SB 210, excuse me. So what this one would say is that before a signer can sign the petition, the canvasser, me in this example, I would have to read aloud the entire ballot title to the potential signer. Again, on all the petitions, the ballot title, the very first thing you see at the top of the petition is the ballot title. It's also, along with the full text of the petition, are on the subsequent pages of this. So this information is already readily available for a potential signer to see. But this particular bill is also very questionable too because it does not give an option for a nonverbal dictation of the ballot title separate from what's already on the ballot title. So there's a potential violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act here because if
Yes.
someone is deaf or hard of hearing, they're not going to be able to hear in full what the ballot title says.
Yes, that is 100% correct. And I would also add that this creates a criminal penalty for not doing it.
Absolutely. All right, Kwame, do you want to take on your other three?
Yes, I will. The first one that I will talk about is SB 209. What SB 209 is a canvasser disqualification and signature invalidation process. And how current law states is that if Brady is collecting signatures and Brady say he collected a signature from Becky, and Becky was in town from Fayetteville at a concert, and he collected it while she was in Little Rock. But then she went back and she forgot that she signed, and she signed the same petition in Fayetteville. So what we now have is we have one person that has signed it twice. How the law currently works is that the Secretary of State's office will see those two signatures of the same person, and they will just knock off one and just count the other one, and that's it. What this does is, since Brady has collected her signature, then every single signature that Brady has collected will now be invalid. And every single signature that the person in Fayetteville collected would also be invalid just because of that one mistake.
Absolutely. So say I've collected 10,000 signatures. That's 10,000 signatures that get thrown out the door, uh, just because of this mistake. And I think what's even more troubling is this essentially gives the Secretary of State carte blanche to just summarily reject signatures without any real oversight mechanism or challenging mechanism.
Yes,
So
when there's no due process at
there's
all.
no due process at all. So if he thinks there's a preponderance of evidence that a crime has been committed, so long to all those signatures. And there's no way to challenge that or try to get those signatures back. So really unchecked authority that we're giving the Secretary of State with this bill.
Indeed. The next bill is SB 11, and that's a canvasser affidavit requirement. And what this does is how it currently works. For those of you that followed the abortion amendment fiasco during the last election cycle, there was a situation where the sponsor of that campaign uh, uh, allegedly did not submit a required affidavit. So what this will do is instead of having the one sponsor submit one affidavit, every single canvasser will have to submit an affidavit, which means when you look at campaigns that I have worked on over the last 4 years, we've had hundreds of canvassers collecting signatures. So, I remember the first campaign I worked on, I did not even know who was collecting signatures. There were people in 75 counties collecting signatures, and then they would just send them to me, and I didn't know who these people were. So, what would happen is I would have to get an affidavit from every last person that, even if you just collected one signature, I would have to get an affidavit and turn in all of these affidavits before the signatures would even be counted.
Absolutely correct. And on top of that, um, a canvasser who hasn't filled out the affidavit and submitted it, they're legally barred from collecting any further signatures at that point as well. So
Yes.
say an amendment has to go into the cure period to collect some more signatures, and Joe Smith, who didn't submit his affidavit, well, too bad. He's legally unallowed to collect any more signatures from then on out until he submits his original affidavit.
Yes. Yes. The third bill in this batch that I want to talk about is SB 212. SB 212 creates a validity division. Document validity division. I'm having problems with that word. But what the document validity division is, it's a new law enforcement agency created inside of the Secretary of State's office, and they will be a mirror agency to the election integrity unit in the Attorney General's office. And basically, what that will do is that will set up an unchecked police power uh, to police not only the ballot signature collection process, but also anything dealing with elections. And this is a pretty frightening thing because how law is currently set up is if you in some way violate an election law, then you go through the process of there being a complaint filed against you, and then there's an investigation done, and there's several different layers and several different steps before you even get to the point where there may or may not be charges filed against you. This wipes all of that away where you can immediately have charges filed against you for any type of mistake that you have made inadvertently violating election law. And as we know from our research, Brady, that there is a plethora of election law violations in the state happening every single day, correct?
No, no, there's not.
So what is the truth then?
Uh, it's a scare tactic. It's what the election, Attorney General's election integrity division was by
Yes.
telling the people, hey, the government's going after election fraud. That makes the public think election fraud is a thing that's happening when it's
Is it
not.
a thing?
It is not a thing. It is, I think there have been three documented cases of election fraud in the past 25 years in Arkansas.
Say that one more time, please.
Three documented cases of election fraud in the past 25 years in Arkansas. And one of them was from an elected official, if I'm correct.
Hmm.
So,
And the only documented alleged documented case of fraud dealing with petitions happened with an out-of-state paid canvasser.
yeah. So, so this is a smokescreen. This election fraud does not exist in Arkansas, and now we're giving the Secretary of State unchecked authority to investigate, issue subpoenas. Who knows what's next? Also, the Attorney General already does this. So now are they
Yes,
going to be working together? Are they going to be working against each other? What's that dynamic going to look like? Uh,
yes.
so really scary stuff happening. Um, and
Now, the
then
thing about all six of these bills, and we're going to talk about two more bills before we get off, but the
yeah,
thing about all six of these bills is they all have emergency clauses in them,
mhm,
which means that if uh, how the normal course of operation goes in the legislature in these days and times is they pretty much shove stuff down our throats. So these bills are all scheduled to run on Tuesday, starting at 10 a.m. in the state agencies on the Senate side in the old Supreme Court room at the state Capitol. And they have the potential of becoming law by Friday. And
absolutely.
if that happens, then with the emergency clause, they immediately become law. Now, one of the big problems with that is the way our Constitution is written is that whenever there's legislation dealing with direct democracy, if that legislation has an emergency clause on it, then there is no way for us to file any type of referendum against that particular piece of legislation because it has an emergency clause on it, which is why they put an emergency clause on it in the first place.
Yep, 100% correct. Um, did you want to give an update on the two other bills that we've been looking at?
Yeah, let's give an update on the David Ray bills, HB 1221 and HB 1222. Why don't you do HB 1222
Yeah,
first?
sure. Yeah, so HB 1222. So what this bill would do, give me 2 seconds. So what this bill would do, so that first off, this bill passed out of the state agencies committee on the House side just a few days ago. And what this bill would do, it would give the Attorney General increased power and authority when approving a ballot title. So one of the aspects of this is it says that the Attorney General will have the ability to summarily make a determination whether a ballot title is in conflict with the United States Constitution or a federal statute. Now, the Attorney General cannot just make a decision whether something is in conflict with the Constitution. That's what the Supreme Court does.
Yes.
And this was raised in committee several times. All the Attorney General has to do is give an opinion on what something does. It's up to the
Yes.
Supreme Court to decide the legality of it. So now
Yes.
we're taking power from the Supreme Court and putting it in an elected political official. The second thing that it does
And
is that it would,
there's a movie called Judge Dredd
yeah,
that talks about that exact thing when you take the judicial power and give it to the law enforcement agency.
exactly. And then the other aspect of this bill is that it says that a petition sponsor can only submit one petition at a time dealing with the same subject. So if you remember last year, there was the group trying to do the FOIA amendment,
Mhm.
and they had two different petitions dealing with the same topic, but dealing with different sets of law. No more. Only one petition now. So this is going to limit people's ability to actually sign and vote on petitions that when it's only limited to one scope. And if there are, say there's a marijuana one and there's different aspects of the marijuana one, well, too bad you only choose one of them. So we're giving the Attorney General even more authority and power to dictate what we can and can't do with our direct democracy.
Yeah, and with the how this came about is with the FOIA amendment, the Attorney General was slow walking the approval process. So the group of attorneys that were dealing with the FOIA, they said, okay, well, since he's doing that, we're going to flood him with four different versions of it. Uh, and then once they did that, he immediately approved all versions.
Hmm.
So this law is a response to that. They were able to force the attorney general's hand, and what this does is this will take away the people's power to force the attorney general's hand in approving a ballot title.
Exactly. Kwame, you want to do the other one?
Yes, this HB 1221. HB 1221 is to create an artificial time limit that is nowhere in the Constitution for collecting signatures. Currently, the Constitution does not speak to a time limit. However, the Supreme Court has spoken to a time limit, and the Supreme Court has said that any reasonable person will understand that the time limit for collecting signatures is 18 months. And that's what the Supreme Court has said, because when you have a ballot title, like we had the Education Rights Amendment of 2024, and we collected signatures and did not get the number of signatures that we needed, we have to start all over collecting those same signatures again, because when we issue the Education Rights Amendment of 2026, we cannot use the same paperwork because it has 2024 on it. So any intelligent person will understand that. But what this does is not only does it create a law that makes that concrete, at the same time, what it does is it targets all of the uh, ballot collection uh, campaigns from the 2024 cycle that were not successful. What we all did is, after we found that we were not successful, we all went and got our stuff recertified in July, August, September. In those 3 months, everybody recertified. So we particularly had our certification done in September. So we're ready, locked and loaded, ready to go to collect signatures. What this new law does is it retroactively invalidates anything that any of us have done in between the time that the signatures were not accepted in July through December 31st.
Yeah,
So what we now have to do, if this becomes law, is we will have to start the process all over again from step one. Instead of we're being at step 15 right now, we have to start all over again, which extends the amount of time that we have to go through the process with the Attorney General's office, and consequently decreases the amount of time that we actually have to collect signatures. So all of these laws are very targeted to specifically destroy the ability of Arkansans to fulfill their constitutional rights to direct democracy.
absolutely. So what's next? So all of these bills that we've discussed, minus HB 1222, are on the agenda for the Senate State Agencies Committee next Tuesday at 10 a.m. It's vitally important that if you are able, show up to the committee, speak out, testify, tell everyone you know about this.
Yes.
Just real quick, the members on the committee, so you are aware of it, if you are watching this and you fall under the jurisdiction of one of these committee members, call them and tell them, hey, do not support these anti-direct democracy bills. So the chair of the committee is Scott Flippo from Bull Shoals. Then you have Senator Payton from Wilburn, Senator Alan Clark from the Hot Springs, Lonsdale area. You have Senator Clark Tucker from here in Little Rock, Senator Brian King of Green Forest, Senator Jim Dotson of Bentonville, Senator Kim Hammer, the sponsor of the bills here in Saline County, and then Senator Dan Sullivan in Jonesboro. So those are the committee members. If you know them, uh, contact them and tell them to vote against these bills. It's vitally important. If you're watching this, share this video. Let people know about all of the attacks that are coming on our direct democracy, and we need your help.
Yes, and we need to flood their email addresses with emails. We need them to get hundreds of emails opposing all of these bills. We need them to get hundreds of telephone calls on both their private cell phone numbers, which are listed on the legislature's website, and the legislature has a telephone number as well, which will give you, Brady will give you at the end, that you can call and flood that number as well. And like he said, anybody that can show up, please show up. We need numbers. We need dozens and dozens and dozens of people in the room and dozens of people testifying against these bills to talk about how it impacts you in your locale throughout the state of Arkansas.
Yeah. And so grab your pen and paper. Here's the phone number to call the Senate switchboard and let them know to vote against it. It's going to be 501 682 2902. Again, that's 501 682 2902. Y'all, we have a chance to stop these bad bills before they even get off the track, before they even make it through the whole process. But we need every single person watching this to call, text, email everybody you know about this and really raise the alarms because the future of our direct democracy is on the lines right now.
And let me tell you how valuable our direct democracy is. Arkansas is one of 16 states in the entire United States where the people have the constitutional right to direct democracy. And there are several different levels of direct democracy. Out of those 16 states, Arkansas is ranked in the top 5 for having the best direct democracy process of all the other 16 states. If any of these bills pass, then our rating goes down. If they all pass, we come in dead last.
And let's be real, we're dead last in quite a lot of things. And this is the one thing that we are actually good at. So let's make sure that we protect it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And everyone have a good day. Bye.